In a world overrun by neocon warmongers, and with the mass media in the pockets of the cabal elite, there remains one bastion of truth amidst the confusion. One beacon of light shining through the murky fog of spin and Islamophobic propaganda. That's right, it's the MP Radio Security Council, the final frontier in the fight for freedom and fairness. I give you the Security Council.
أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد عن خطى الإيمان دربنا درب قويم دربنا درب قويم بالهدى القرآني أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد عن خطى الإيمان دربنا درب قويم دربنا درب قويم بالهدى القرآني سائر في طريق الحق يا جند الله.
And you're listening to Middle Path Radio. Welcome back, everybody. It's been quite a long week, a very busy week. And this is your brother, Ahmed, and I'm joined in the studio today by my co-hosts, as usual, permanent members of the Security Council, Robert the Beast Mugabe and Desmond Two Guns is here.
Wait, good luck, Django Jonathan.
Good luck, Django Jonathan. Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic name. Anyway, Robert the Beast, you were absent last week. How you feeling, bro? You okay? Things got worse.
Hang on. If you're addressing me, that's not mine.
Listen, that's... You can't be a permanent member without having these names.
Listen, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened last week, but these names that come out last week here, you guys must have been on something, man. Seriously.
No, sir, you are a permanent member of the Security Council.
Yeah.
And it was all your idea to begin with. So
Robert the guitar?
Yeah,
Robert
before you two came on, it was called it was a very peaceful show. It was a very peaceful, down to earth Café Ikhwan show. It was very laid back, very hippie.
You've been very hippie. You've been taking too much of that stuff, man.
Telling you, man.
It's not halal, ya akhi.
Don't pretend you're all goody two shoes here. Desmond Two Guns. Tell us what we got lined up for today's show. Anybody remind us? We got like about 5 or 6 issues I've lined up.
I think Sir Desmond Two Guns. He doesn't have it on him, so I'll go through it very quickly.
He's got it right in front of him.
Do you want to go?
Anyone can go.
All right, I'll say the first one. Not the iPhone 6.
Lol. Laugh out loud.
I think
iPhone.
Well, I'm still on the opinion. I know that Ahmed's on the opinion. He has to speak about the iPhone 6.
And why would you object? Does it have anything to do with the fact that you own an iPhone?
I think it's more to maybe due to the fact that we need a tech show, something a bit separate.
Definitely need a tech show, definitely, for all things.
If you ask, if there's anyone that wants that topic to be there,
guys, listen.
Hang on.
If this wasn't in the news, I wouldn't be talking about it. This is a huge launch. Everybody's talking about it. From Bloomberg to BGR to Financial Times to Economist.
Just hang on. Just for the listeners, yeah.
Like, oh, nobody knows about the iPhone. Everybody knows about the iPhone.
Just for our listeners, our dear Ahmed, yeah, he's a Android fanatic, and he has beef with the iPhone. I have no beef. I have no alliance with any.
I'm completely independent.
Hang on. I don't have any allegiance to any.
I will tell you an Android. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to find a more politically correct word while we're on air. So I mean, if they have issues like security issues, or if they have got lag issues, I'll tell you they've got issues.
This guy's too much, man, on iPhone. But anyway,
I love all things technology. That's the thing. I don't like. That's the reason why I pick on Apple, because I find Apple guys to be the most sensitive people. They take their iDevices so personally. Exactly. Like, and they can't see anything outside of the Apple world.
Hang on. If we go on to that,
I do it, because I just
Brother Ahmed, if we do go on to that, yeah, then
that's the first agenda. We absolutely going on to that.
Then we'll chat more about that in terms of your approach to it. I think
why don't our listeners text in and see if they want that topic on the show or not? Maybe that's a good way.
That's exactly why
it's too late. I've already made that decision.
So anyway,
last time I checked, this was the Security Council.
How to rule
this guy's talking too much. We should take him.
Okay, moving on.
Mr. Producer, take him out.
What are the other agendas? Go on.
The other agendas that we have, obviously something that was been more prominent on the headlines, and I think every single day we're hearing it being bombarded with it, is good old ISIS and its hostages and everything related to that. So obviously recently there has been another beheading, and there is also another British aid worker who was captured by ISIS when he went on a convoy, who is now being threatened to be the next in line to be beheaded as well. So again, that's another topic. I know ISIS has been coming up nearly every week, or this topic's been coming up every week, but it's been in the headlines.
Go ahead.
Also,
Zayn? Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted to interrupt.
No, go on.
It's okay, I was about to give you consent, but you can keep quiet.
Consent from the non-permanent member.
Non-permanent member, the one who can get ousted.
The resistance has overtaken, and now Café Ikhwan has learnt some of your own tricks.
Unfortunately, last week you tried to take it as back to Café
Ikhwan
Ikhwan, but I had to come back just
now a
to
permanent member.
keep it rooted.
Go on then, what's the next agenda?
Well, the next one is the unreported Shiah atrocities that have been taking place.
Basically, I've got a few links here that are, it's in Iraq and in Syria. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
So as we know, Brother Zayn always has his links and always has his articles.
15.
We're going to have to again rein those articles in, otherwise they're going to be taken over the show.
Just I said there's 15 doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to actually read the entire articles of all 15.
We don't trust you on that.
We've had negative experiences.
You guys need to get your own show, YouTube, man. And you can just, do it for half an hour and go home.
Well, you could keep on talking for hours and hours.
Me and the producer, we've got this space covered.
Okay.
Well, the other ones we got was also the Muslim Brotherhood being banned in the UK. So that's another kind of topic that's kind of obviously popped
Are they
up.
being banned? We're asking that question. Is this are they leading up to a ban? Is this, well, there was some question about whether they're going to get banned. That's basically what it is. So yeah, that's that one. Anything else, Brother Ahmed, Brother Zayn or Brother Khabbab?
What is antisemitism?
That's a question,
It's a very important question that we would like to ask all of our listeners and kind of
what
get
exactly is anti-Semitism? This is because of the fact that I've got a couple of articles again where Mr. Gove, what's his full name? Michael Gove?
Michael.
He used to be, Education Secretary?
Yeah.
And I think
He got moved. He got
demoted.
somewhere non-important now.
Politely transferred to another less important role. Yeah, so he was saying that criticizing Israel basically is a form of anti-Semitism, and I've got I think it's a member of Labour Party. He wrote a very good response to Michael Gove, and it's very short. It's like about 2 paragraphs. We'll go into that when that time arrives. I think we had a couple of other items, something to do with
who is this Diego Garcia?
Diego is not a man's name.
It's a place.
It's a name of a place.
Sorry,
I think that's really what's happened is I put it there deliberately because a lot of people think Diego Garcia is maybe a football player, some sort of a
it sounds like a
Italian football player or something like that.
Spanish football or something.
Yeah,
Diego is Spanish.
Diego Maradona's Argentinian, but this is Diego Garcia.
Hispanic name anyway.
Yeah, something like that. So, that's really more to do with one of the sites that the United States of America uses as a part of the world. I don't think it's referred to as a country because it's like just an island or a couple of islands, basically. And just like Cuba, the United States of America has got a rendition site where they kidnap people, abduct people, and they take them there and they torture them and stuff like that. Or those are the allegations anyway, because of course, as you know, the intelligence services and the administration in the United States has denied, all of this. And the reason why it's of special relevance is because there's some, I think it belongs to the UK or it used to be. Well, I've got the full facts. When we go to that piece, we will be reading directly from there. The British are involved, and they're involved because they know a little bit about what's happening, what the US is actually doing there, and some of the abuses that are taking place, and it's happening on the British government's watch. And they have been denying knowing about any of these things, and they were adamant that they're completely opposed to torture. So the British government have, got a lot of answering to do.
There's a lot of the points we can maybe go into as we go into the discussion.
When we go into that point, definitely.
Keep it at the intro and
sure.
I think there's a couple more left, which is
what,
police surveillance, and also is rape a white problem. Also, if we do have time, I can see it there. But
Sure.
Scotland's been in the news a lot, so I don't know if you wanted to, because obviously currently it's coming up to the kind of referendum vote.
Where's Scotland?
You know, Scotland.
Where's Scotland? Did you say where's
Yeah,
Scotland?
Where is Scotland?
Yeah, I don't think anybody.
This
Apple deserves its own country.
So maybe we could discuss that. And like I said, there's a lot of other topics that pop up along the way.
No offense, my Scottish brothers and sisters. I was just joking.
Brother Zain, would you like to let us know of how our listeners can
Definitely.
contact us?
Go ahead, Brother Zain. Robert the Beast Mugabe.
Was it good luck, Jonathan Django?
I think the translator.
Good luck, Django Jonathan.
The Security Council translator is, there's a bit of lag on your end, so you need to get Google Translate to help you, mate.
Okay, it's do call us on any of those subjects that you want to speak about or share your opinion on 07477 080248. That's 07477 080248. Text us, WhatsApp us, let us know your opinions.
Yeah, please make some calls, okay? I know all of you fanboys out there, whether you be an iFan or what do you call them? iFan? Yeah, iFan or a fandroid.
Maybe today you might have actually touched on the
Say
few nerves
fandroid.
of...
There are a few fandroids out there, just like,
Never heard that one.
yeah, a few fandroids and a few iFans out there. There's all sorts of derogatory names, which I may have to censor for tonight's show. So those of you who are fearing my wrath, it's okay. I'll go easy on you guys. So do call in, tell us how much, if you're going to be getting this iPhone 6, why are you going to get the iPhone 6? What is so crazy and sick about this phone? Yeah, I need to know. And what do you think about this iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus? All right, Mr. Producer.
You can no longer use your thumb.
Put up your microphone, Shakes. You got something to say?
No, I was just going to say, I've got some really, really good clips here that we can use relating to the iPhone 6. You want to play? You want to play one?
Hang on. Have we? Has anyone actually texted in that they say that they want to that on the topic as an agenda, especially right at the beginning?
They know that good luck Django Jonathan has already agreed to talk about the iPhone. I think a lot of the listeners are really anticipating tonight's exciting topic on the iPhone. Definitely. Definitely. So I'm not really waiting for any of their,
Never know, it might have been
their vote or a poll. I'm asking them to now give us their views. What do they think? What these are the questions that we.
What do you think, Brother Ahmed?
Well, the questions we want to ask today, show is like, what has Apple really impressed you this time around this year with their new devices? I think they've released 3 new devices. Okay, the iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus, and the Apple Watch. I was about to say iWatch. So if I do say that, throughout the show, do forgive me, because everything else is called iWatch. It's actually called the Apple Watch. Okay, so these 3 devices, what do you guys think? Has it impressed you? Did it live up to the hype? Or is it something that's just overhyped? Is it something that is just overrated? Yeah.
Just on that topic, I think, although I don't like to delve too much into these dark arts here, but I do keep myself informed from time to time.
Mate, you were abroad and you were so into these kind of things. You had to get me to buy one of your
devices.
Devices for you on your behalf.
But it was not an Apple device, just to
obviously not.
But in terms of, I think one of the things that usually all the Apple fanboys have been saying a lot was the fact that to do with the look of the phone, the size of the phone, and one of the biggest digs that were taken towards Android was, oh, look at that brick that you got in your hand.
What do you mean by the size of the phone?
Well, it was very much clear, the size, the screen.
Say there's a lot of people might be listening and they don't buy smartphones. What's so different with the new iPhones? Yeah, the screen size. So
screen size here now.
Yeah. So I mean, they made a bigger iPhone, basically.
So basically, they all have done
an even bigger iPhone.
If they just, I think the last few iPhones have just gone up in size, and in terms of, it's a bit like children growing. It's growing, but all the excuses that were used before in terms of what's so amazing about the iPhone, they seem to be a bit null and void now. A bit like that clip that somebody forwarded before about the amazing use of the thumb.
We have
and
that
now
clip.
longer can
you're
you
ruining
use your
it,
thumb.
Habab.
Oh, sorry.
So while I try to distract you, the number is 07477 080248. That's 07477 080248. So where are all those Apple lovers? I meet them everywhere, wherever I go. I'm always constantly, butting heads with these Apple guys, and I just, and it's not almost more often. Let's say I wouldn't say almost always. More often than not, it is always the Apple guys who are waving their iDevice in my face, saying, "Have you seen this wicked feature? Did you now know we can do this? And isn't this so cool? Can your device do that?" It's always starts like that, and then it's always ending with them saying,
I think the
"Please
biggest
stop.
kind of knockdown.
I'm sorry." You're right, actually, but I still love my Apple.
I think the biggest knockdown that I saw was in relation to that image that was shown, or even the specs of the iPhone 6 and that of the Nexus 4, which was one of my old phones.
Yes.
That came out back in 2012.
Fantastic.
And it shows
picture.
how amazingly, innovative iPhone 6 is. That it's got all these new amazing features and capabilities which the Nexus 4 had back in 2012. So
Yes.
it doesn't really seem groundbreaking. It's rather about...
I too had that phone, actually, yes.
The Nexus 4 I did like it, and I have the
still
Nexus
have
5
that
now, and I'll be
somewhere.
looking to get forward to the Nexus 6, But in terms of Apple, I don't really think it's really done anything amazing or groundbreaking in the market this time round. I don't think there's got anything to boast about.
Yeah, I don't think so neither. I mean, I'll say it's different for those who buy Apple. It's new to them. It is an improvement for them because they didn't have these features. They didn't have these.
It's just a designer phone. That's what it is. It's like those people going out buying the designer clothes, or the designer handbags the women would have,
Yeah, so for them it's something new. But for those who've been buying other devices, not necessarily only just Android devices, they're the obvious, antagonist in this picture. But even other devices, they've had, and so to be fair, actually, some features were there even before Android devices came out, and the iPhone up to today still doesn't, have those features. And an example of that is the simple use of Bluetooth. And I remember in the days when we had the Sony Ericssons and the old Nokia, 3310s or 3330s, and the models that came after that. Really, to be fair, those phones were able to send pictures and contacts to other phones. Doesn't have to be a Nokia phone. You could send it to whatever phone has got a Bluetooth on it, and you could just share that picture or that file, So those kind of features are still not available on an iPhone. You can share files like that via a Nokia phone today, a Windows device or a Android device or a BlackBerry. Those of you still remember BlackBerry, right? BlackBerry's got all those features. So, this it's a number of these things, but I do agree. You're saying that iPhone's like a designer phone, Habab, right? But I have to say, there is one device that they did reveal at this announcement of theirs.
Was that 6 Plus?
No, we just talked about that, but I mean, I'm talking about the Apple Watch.
Oh,
now, you're right.
How could I forget?
Apple, I give credit to Apple for making very good-looking devices. I've always said that. They make some very good-looking hardware. And if you're just into that, that's all that matters to you. That is your be-all and end-all, and you're not really bothered about any of the other features. As long as it makes a phone call and looks good, then okay, that's your justification for buying an iPhone. The thing with the Apple Watch, for me, I found really strange was, and I know I don't want to move away, the design of the Apple Watch just looks naff to me, especially compared to some of the other smartwatches that are actually available to buy. The Apple Watch isn't even going to be available to buy until next year. So I don't know what Tim Cook was doing. He's the guy who replaced Steve Jobs. So, they've done some funny things. But coming back to the iPhone 6, to be fair, and the iPhone 6 Plus, they have gotten a lot bigger. And also, the funniest thing is, I've got a few pictures here. They're big iPhone, and then the bigger iPhone. The big one, which is the 4.7-inch device, is actually bigger than a lot of the Android 4.7-inch devices out there. And that's the funny thing. The reason why this matters is because Apple has constantly been making fun of some of the large Android devices out there, the 5-inch or even the 4.7-inch devices, the 5-inch devices, and the 5.5-inch, what is now a new category called phablet, a kind of, amalgamation of two words, phone and tablet, basically. So that was a category.
Flab.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like a fat phone, basically. So, but
Zain's very quiet throughout this whole discussion.
Yeah,
because it's Apple that's getting,
as you can tell, I'm
getting
really
the floor with.
interested in this
He's doing a veto,
Android.
basically.
Veto
Veto
for
the
myself.
discussion.
It's a shame, really, to be honest with you.
I abstain from this discussion.
The only reason why you bought the
I'm-
iPhone was because it's got an Apple logo on it. That's it.
Who's that? To me?
That's you.
Hang on. If I
Anyway.
were to say this, don't let me say this here.
What?
You are the one who told me when I asked you.
I already answered
I
that
asked you,
the other day.
Ahmed, what should I buy? Should I buy the Apple or should I buy the what's it called?
Yes, a good
whatever it was,
doctor
Android.
prescribes the correct
said-
medicine
He
for
said
the
for the
correct
beast, it
patient.
must be the apple.
This
For
guy,
you, I cannot convince you to get anything else. I think I took the easy option.
whatever.
recommend
You know
you
you're
Apple
you're a fan of Apple underneath all of that hatred.
I'm a fan of their design. Their products look really good. I have to always say their designs look great. I'll tell you another thing that's good on the iPhone is their camera is one of the most responsive cameras that they've got, the easiest to use. So some of the things that Apple does, they're amazing.
I'm
I
pretty
won't
sure
deny.
that Brother Ahmed he's got a room
I just
in
like
his
technology.
house full of Apple memorabilia and all of that kind of stuff.
He's an
Just hiding
undercover.
it.
Yeah.
I just like technology in general, especially mobile technology and gadgets and stuff like that. And
That
I
is-
do
if
have.
that is if I listen to it, I know
I've had the
already.
original iPad, and I still got another. I've got the iPad Mini still at home, which doesn't get much use, but we still got that. Stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I like technology, and whatever's best, I go for that. It's just like buying a car. If you go out there and want to buy a car, you don't say, "Oh, I'm only going to buy BMW because I'm so loyal to BMW." Are you silly? Does BMW pay you to be loyal to them? Do you, have you got a share in their business? Are you a partner in BMW or something? Why would you only buy BMW? It's like secondary school, high school nonsense. Like some kids would say, "I only buy Stone Island, bruv. Stone Island." You know what I'm saying? It was like that kind of thing. Like they don't buy anything but Stone Island. Like you're allowed to buy other brands. You know that, yeah? You can buy, or it doesn't even have to be branded. You can just wear plain unbranded, jackets, shirts and trousers. I just found that really silly, and I thought that's the kind of high school thing that young people go through when they like want to feel, loyal to kind of some sort of
be
brand.
part of something. Be part
Status.
of
it's to do with the status
Absolutely.
symbol, and a lot of people. And I want to make this clear from the get go with that. A lot of people do have this thing, and it's not limited to just being Apple. It's just a kind of that mindset.
It's mentality,
and a lot of
yeah.
people who buy Apple don't suffer from that mindset. They are
Absolutely.
very open to technology, and they're not married to one particular brand or anything like that. And the same can be said of certain people who buy only Samsung now, which has become like a new fan
I never liked
base.
Samsung.
Me neither.
I've had different devices. I've had Blackberries. I've had.
I did have
Windows
the Galaxy
Phone,
S1
I
and
did
the
have,
Galaxy S2.
so-
After that, I just kind of got bored of
I
them.
don't know.
because
I think Samsung phones look like toys. That's just my personal
So-
opinion in terms of its look.
it's
So
a
something-
bit, yeah, it does look a little bit like plasticky and stuff like that. So what you've got is a 4.7-inch iPhone, and you've got the 5.5-inch ginormous iPhone. And when I'm saying ginormous, those of you who were laughing at Samsung's Galaxy Note series, which was I've heard comments made to me or people that I hang around with who have this phone, people laughing like, why are you holding your computer to your face, brother? It was like those kinds of jokes. It's like, are you Dom Jolie from that? Hello, I'm in the library with that giant phone. It's one of those. I thought, like, okay, make all the fun you want, but I guarantee you, one time or another, Apple is going to produce some really large devices, and 2014 is the year where they've announced this 5.5-inch massive device. Can we hear a little quick clip on this? Listen, Mr. Producer, you're just getting bullied by Robert the Beast
No, I
Mugabe
think,
here. We need to hear this little clip from the from Apple from when they did the 3.5-inch lovely iPhone 3GS, is it, or the iPhone 4 and the 4S? Let's hear what Steve and his marketing team had to say.
Your thumb. Your thumb. It goes from here to here. This bigger screen goes from here to here. Now, that's either A, an amazing coincidence, or B, a dazzling display of common sense. Pretty sure it's the common sense thing.
Common sense.
Common sense, it was. I mean, there you go. There you had it. It was all about the thumb. and how the thumb could reach. It's obviously something that you'd see on TV, so you couldn't get the full gist of the advert there. But it was an Apple commercial promoting how they had put, some common sense into their device and used a very small screen so that your thumb could reach all the different angles. Let's quickly go straight to a Samsung one where we hear rush into 2014, how they feel about Apple making such ginormous devices.
In 2011, it was ahead of its time. And naturally, when things are new and different, sometimes people aren't ready for them. Experts saw the bigger screen and were like, "You look like you're talking into a piece of toast." The Note is an unwieldy beast. Now it's not being dismissed by competitors. It's being imitated. Thing is, the Note is more than big. It's about being more productive. Wait for it. I like that part. More innovative. Oh, cool. More fun. Today, people are saying, is it just me or does the new iPhone 6 look like a Samsung Galaxy Note 2 from 2012? It's cute how Apple thinks their phablet is a fresh idea when Samsung Mobile has been excelling at them for years already. Hashtag next big thing. The new Samsung Galaxy Note 4. The next big thing is here.
I think you heard what the Samsung commercial thought of Apple's previous policy and the kind of abuse that some of their devices was receiving. But now I think they've made the point very clear. Everybody seems to be going for the larger devices, and even the people that made fun of Samsung large devices are actually now making big devices. The worst thing is, though, this is the final point I want to make on this new iPhone 6 Plus as well, is that both the 4.7-inch and the 5.5-inch versions of the iPhone are bigger than their respective competitors from Android, with either the same screen size or even a bigger screen size. The iPhones happen to be still a larger shape and size compared to those Android. And I've got all the measurements here and everything. I've got some pictures. So it's just shocking to know that even when they've gone for a big device, they couldn't make it smaller than any or similar to any of the Android models. There you've got the picture of the iPhone 6 Plus. That's the Galaxy Note 3, which is shorter, as you can see there. And it's actually got a bigger screen than the iPhone 6 Plus. And you got the LG G3 and you got the LG G2. That's the phone that I've got, by the way. But Zain, yeah? You used to tell me that phone was big.
I prefer the 8210. I don't know about you guys, but
the 8210 was pretty cool. Very trendy phone at the time. So that's the Apple story. And, I'm really looking forward to keep your text coming. You've got our Twitter account, by the way. You have to follow that on, it's at Middle Path Radio. At Middle Path Radio. Go follow our account. Give us your comments on Twitter as well. Use the Security Council as a hashtag. Okay, what do you think about the Apple Watch? Are you going to be getting this Apple Watch? Is smartwatch really a product that is needed? Do you really need a smartwatch? I don't know. Is this a category that's just made so that they can get money out of you? Let us know what your thoughts are, okay? Even if you feel like texting us, despite us moving on from this topic a little bit, because we've got like a ton of other things to talk about. The number is 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. Okay, so that was that topic. Brother Khabab.
Well, let's move on to the issue of the beheadings carried out by ISIS.
Yes.
Again,
tell us a bit of background to that, if you don't mind.
Obviously, we know that. Apologies. A few weeks back, I think it was the first beheading that was carried out by ISIS. Again, which was an American.
Started with James Foley.
Yeah, James Foley, the American journalist, who was beheaded. And then soon after that, the next one was
Steven Sotloff.
This is Steven Sotloff.
Another American.
Another, American. And
journalist.
Yes, another journalist.
And then recently, it was the David
Haynes.
I think it was. The British or Healy or something.
He was British.
Which was again another British aid worker who was working for a French charity.
Right.
Who was again, he was then beheaded. And within that video was the kind of images of another British aid worker, whose story I know a bit more about, who was kidnapped last year. Alan Henning.
That's the guy, right?
Who was on a convoy with one of the Muslim charities. I'm not sure if I should name them, but again, it was a charity taking aid, so ambulances. He had been before to refugee camps. He'd come back and he felt very moved that he actually wanted to go. He's a non-Muslim, but he went on. He sacrificed his Christmas time, which is obviously quite sacred to them, and he went on this journey with the rest of the group who are all Muslims, and he was obviously only non-Muslim. And upon entry inside Syria, he was then basically apprehended by ISIS for questioning, as they said initially, after which they basically never did release him, and that was back in December 2013. And now obviously he's being threatened to be beheaded. Now I think a lot of people have come out a lot more regarding Alan Henning as well, purely because a lot of people know him personally, Muslims know him personally, because obviously he had done a lot of charity work in the UK and also in Syria as well. And
what's the reasoning behind this particular threat? What is ISIS saying on this one?
Well, the threat here is, again, it goes back down to Cameron and Britain in support of US kind of policy, which is now currently the attack and aerial bombardment of ISIS strongholds.
Acknowledged that he's not a spy or anything like that.
Yeah, so they were saying, the whole kind of story. I think even Bilal Abdul Karim, who's the journalist who was in Syria, he wrote on his blog. He wrote about this individual, Alan Henning, a while ago under a pseudonym, because at that time the family, I think, didn't want his name to be released, but now obviously his name's in the video, his picture's in the video. She's changed that again, but he mentioned a long time ago when he actually wrote up this article regarding what happened. And the moment when ISIS took him, they said, "Oh, he's a spy." And they said, "How do you know he's a spy?" Because he's a Christian, and what would he be doing at this time of the year here? And then afterwards they're looking at his passport and they saw the chip inside the passport and they said, "You see, that's a chip, so they can track him." And then obviously the other kind of Muslim participants in the convoy showed their passport. They said, "Look, all of us have the same kind of chip in the passport." After that, they said, "Okay, we're going to question him a bit further and let him go," but obviously they never did. And even many other rebel groups in Syria, including Al-Qaeda's affiliate Jabhat al-Nusra, they even went to ISIS and basically tried to say, this is a bit too far, tried to secure his release, basically, because it was quite clear and very much apparent that this individual was not a spy. He was actually somebody who was an aid worker. So
what's the demands that have been made by ISIS for this?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. As far as I've heard, is they've initially for James Foley and them, they wanted huge sums of money. So I'm guessing it's the same thing, really. They just want money. But the other thing, sorry, no, that's not fair. They are demanding other things. One of the main and obvious thing that they demanded is the stopping of the US airstrikes on ISIS positions and ranks, basically. So that's one of the most common sense, explanations as to why they're doing this.
Sure, there's been a lot of talk in the media in terms of who ISIS are and what they've been up to, and
give us your take on this.
I mean, some of the things are quite extraordinary, fabricated, in terms of
some of the stuff is just nonsense, rubbish.
And not only that, then you realize that the because of what ISIS are doing, and I'm not saying that they're doing anything good in that sense, but I'm not going to go to the extreme.
More believable for people.
I'm not going to go to the extreme and
believe all the nonsense.
Really, I don't know, making them.
It's natural as a Muslim. You should listen, spread the truth as opposed to falsehood. And when news comes, you should verify.
You don't have to rely on.
And I think
on the
just with the current
stuff.
and with the current wave and attack and against ISIS, people are just throwing every single ridiculous story into the mix, and people are just believing it. And
journalistic,
it's important that we kind
integrity
and put it into context. See what the truth is, and put it into context. That's how I see it. And again, no one's here saying what they're doing is great, what they're doing is good, or whatever it may be. We just, they're making many mistakes, and how they, in what they're doing.
Yeah, a lot of people are very openly saying that what they're doing is wrong. As well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just on this...
and that's not just ordinary Joes. I mean, I think some people who are sharing the revolution with them, who are trying to achieve the similar goals to them, and a lot of the scholars who are very well known in the ranks, senior with many years of qualification and experience in the field, a lot of these guys are actually now openly criticizing ISIS,
Including-
not for the same reasons that the international community hates ISIS for, but for their own Islamic.
Absolutely.
I mean, what's the word on rules of engagement? Those kinds of Islamic rules of engagement. Those kinds of bases.
I mean, even recently,
for them.
even recently, Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, he came out on a tweet and he mentions the fact that he differs with them in their opinion, in their thinking.
He doesn't agree with
them,
them.
He doesn't agree with them, but
with the means that they're using and stuff like that.
Absolutely. But he doesn't agree with actually supporting the bombing of Muslim villages and so forth and whatnot, because at the end of the day, most likely you see numbers of casualties for civilian casualties on the rise.
It's not just that; it's also the fact that being hand in hand with the countries that are waging war, because they have an ulterior motive. At this moment in time, yes,
absolutely,
ISIS are doing things that are wrong, they need to be stopped and these kind of things, but they need to realize that this is all part of the bigger picture of their onslaught against Islam.
I mean,
take ISIS out the picture, what's next? Do you think it's going to stop there? No, it's going to obviously continue.
Yeah, but look at this. I mean, let's first of all, let's be very clear. There are many prisoners in who are, some of them British, in Guantanamo Bay. There are prisoners in Bagram. There were prisoners in Abu Ghraib. They're not all British. They're just Muslims, in general. And they're facing very similar kind of fate, either under the direct authority of the United States or under their proxy governments that they've put in place in the Arab world, such as the Shiah one in Iraq and the Syrian one Assad regime in Syria. So and similarly in Egypt as well, there are prisoners there. So there are, you can call them hostages, you can call them prisoners and stuff like, because they were abducted or they were innocent. There are many innocent men. Most of the people in Guantanamo haven't been charged, but many of them have been released free of charge.
They've been ready to release, but they're not being.
They've been
released.
cleared for charge, and they still haven't been released. Let me add one more thing, Brother Zain. I know you're very rearing to go on this one, and you've probably got a text message from one of our listeners as well. But just before you do that, I wanted to also add that let's also remember that whatever ISIS was doing wrong, or whatever, whether you call it monstrous or brutal, they weren't killing American civilians or hostages or prisoners. They weren't doing that. They only started doing that when the Americans started bombing, parts of Iraq and bombing ISIS. And we've always said, not because we knew they were going to kill American hostages, we said, look, this is a bad idea. It was a bad idea to go to Iraq in 2003. Was it 2003?
2003, yeah.
2003. It was a bad idea to go there. You went there, and then ISIS was born to fight you guys, in Iraq. It didn't happen in Syria.
It's ISI at first.
Yeah, it was ISI at the time. And then it moved to Syria to fight Assad. And now it's come back to Iraq. Well, it never left. I mean, it still had its,
origins.
People,
it's just widening its territory.
Its scope to Syria. And because of your attack again, I mean, it's just I can't fathom the way the Western world is thinking right now. We went to war in Iraq on a pack of lies. Oh, sorry, they didn't even say sorry. A lot of people died. It was a horrendous mistake. They didn't have any basis to go to war over there in the first place, and now they are back in there with their airstrikes and contemplating. Today they said they won't eliminate the possibility of putting American troops on the ground.
Yeah, and I think it's important also to realize that if you realize the media is branding now, or side to brand every resistance in Syria that has Islamic kind of background to it,
ethos
to it, that they're similar to ISIS, or these are ISIS. And the fear is actually that they will go in by saying that they're going to go and destroy ISIS or dismantle ISIS, but in turn they will start attacking all the rebel forces that have affiliation.
Even in Iraq, the one thing that was clear when when ISIS kind of swept through different cities of Iraq, it wasn't just ISIS. There were many other groups that were there. That just recently, obviously, the thing that happened in Iraq, there were many other groups, Sunni groups, tribes, who've had enough of all of the oppression over the last, decade, under the hands of the Shia, and so they also kind of stood up and were resisting. But all of that was kind of brandished as ISIS. It's all ISIS.
Not just the government.
ISIS.
A huge number of people that don't fall into in the Muslim community, mostly non-Muslims. I'm talking. Most non-Muslims actually don't make a distinction between ISIS and other rebel groups. To them, any Muslim that has a gun is, a terrorist. That's basically.
Is it that? Well, before it used to be is Al Qaeda. Now it's just
the
ISIS.
view
ISIS is the
Yeah, so I mean, but when they were there in 2003, what was their justification? We're getting the guys who did us.
It was Al Qaeda. They said it was
Al
The
Qaeda.
pretext of
Well, it
yeah.
was
What was the mass
Saddam,
reduction?
first of
Saddam
all.
and,
Saddam was the bogeyman. He was the
weapon of
ISIS of
mass
that time.
destructions,
Yeah, and then after Saddam, it was all about Fallujah, and it was about they didn't use ISIS, the name back then, they were calling it Al Qaeda, as Brother Khabbab said. And now it's ISIS, and in Afghanistan, it was the Taliban. It was like, there's so many bad guys out there. We're still playing cops and robbers. We came to kill the Indians, and now we're going to kill all the other Arab, ragheads, excuse me to use that term. Okay, these are the kind of language that is being used to describe Muslims out there. And some of these names are being used by officials in the military and outside, and we've got references
even
for
mockery
that.
of certain ahadith regarding those who are the shuhada and these kind of things that are kind of mocking these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with that, I just want to bring in a different direction to this. Got a text early on saying supporting the massacres and attempting to annihilate a peaceful democratic Islamic movement that renounces violence is the biggest recruiting tool for ISIS, alongside occupation of the Muslim lands. This person's referring to, I think, the Muslim Brotherhood crackdown in Egypt and other, and how it got, obviously, for Morsi, who got democratically elected and then got through a coup, got ousted and now imprisoned.
That's correct. That's actually one of our agendas, and that's an excellent point. I have to say, thank you to the listener who's texted that in. That's an absolutely valid point. I mean, on one hand, you guys are so bad. It's like what they said to the IRA. You guys need to put down your weapons and come enter into the political process. Here you have the Muslim brothers, the MB Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimin, and these guys are purely political, non-violent, non-armed, non-military group. Okay, they've been doing politics for decades and decades, and for the first time in Egypt, the people actually voted for them. In fact, a majority of the people voted for them. A bigger majority of people voted for them than the number of people that voted for our government here in the UK. So they were more popular here in the UK, and that was the first democratically elected leader and government of Egypt. Since there was never been anything like this before. There is no record of anything like this happening before. But within a year and a half, we had the military brutally bringing its weapons and its guns. Here you have a very militarized, militant force, dictator, and illegally taking over the elected government and kicking them out and imprisoning them, currently facing death sentences and all sorts of other kinds of abuse in those famous Egyptian prisons known for abuse. Okay, so the listener is making the point that if you are going to be silencing them even from the political arena, after the people love them and have voted for them to come to power and run their country, what choice have you left those young, disenfranchised, angry young men, young Muslims who say, oh, so we're not allowed to get involved in politics. You don't want us to run the country in a peaceful way. You don't want us to vote for our own leaders. So automatically the ISIS model appears more attractive to them because you've left us no choice, say these young men. And that's the kind of rhetoric I hear a lot of the time. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of young people that we meet, they're often laughing at Muslim Brothers. Get yourself into power just by voting. They don't want you. They're never going to have you. Okay, they ain't going to accept it. 1.5 years is the longest you've had. And they kicked you out and, strung you out for dry. And that's exactly what's happened.
Just before you go on, I'd just like to ask our listeners, do keep your texts coming in and your WhatsApp messages coming in. Call us or text us or WhatsApp us on 07477 080248. That's 07477 080248.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Zain. I just quickly want to mention why we're still on the. I want to move on from the ISIS thing here, yeah, because this is. I feel at the end of the day, there's the mainstream media. And their clique of elite people that run the world, they are actually setting the agenda and kind of dictating the narrative on this. And us also taking that up and kind of focusing on it kind of plays into their whole, the agenda that they've set. But while we've said that, I wanted to mention that the mother of James Foley, okay, and the guy who was we'll go for a nasheed break very shortly. Before we do, this lady whose son, has been, she said that she's embarrassed and appalled by how the US government dealt with her son's case. And she told the CNN that officials even suggested that any of the family members that tried to raise the money to free him, they could be charged for a criminal offense. Okay? And I think this is what she says. I think our efforts to get Jim freed were an annoyance to the US government, Diane Foley told CNN's Anderson Cooper in an interview that aired Thursday. It didn't seem to be in the US strategic interest, if you will. So this is the kind of treatment that they said. She added that the family was told many times that raising this ransom money to free him was, quote, illegal, and that you may get prosecuted. We were just told to trust that he would be freed somehow miraculously. And he wasn't, was he? Said Foley's mother. And the interview goes on, and I didn't want to take up more of our time on that story, but it just goes to show that some of the people running America are quite callous, and they pretend to care about these hostages and these journalists that are out there, reporting these news and risking their lives. Yet on the other hand, you can the family. Sorry, Brother Khabbab. You can see the mother here giving us a very different story as to how the American government actually thinks of these American citizens and hostages out there.
So they're just pawns for their political agenda, and that's as simple as that.
Yeah, they present these guys.
And I was just reading.
I
read an article today. Today is 5 months since on the 14th of April, 2014. Was when those girls were abducted by Boko Haram, and it's 5 months to the day. And the whole article was, do you remember "Bring Back Our Girls"? The hashtag. That was the whole article. That everybody's forgotten about them. What happened during that period? No efforts were made in order to secure the release, and the whole article kind of goes a bit more further in depth of that. But it just seemed that at the time it played into a political agenda. Big issue, bring back our girls, hashtag it. You had Obama's wife holding the picture of the hashtag bring back our girls and all of those kind of things, but everybody's forgotten about it now. But they're still there because at that time, at that moment, they were they were important. They're the ones that kind of furthered the political agenda. And same thing now. All of these beheadings.
It was convenient at the time
also,
to bring that story.
They talked about ISIS and they talked about James Foley and all these people get beheaded. But it wasn't that long ago that a Syrian journalist was beheaded by ISIS. But how come that wasn't made a big deal out of it? How come none of that was mentioned? They're both journalists. They were both.
Yeah, because
some lives are more valuable than others. That's apparent, isn't it?
One thing is lives are valuable. Also, it's just to do with how it plays into.
And it's
politics.
Not just ISIS. Let's also be clear. It's not just ISIS. We know that there are Palestinian journalists who are getting killed out there, who have lost their lives just recently in the last month or so. This is exactly what the Israeli.
The only reason we talked about ISIS was purely because they're saying about James Foley and ISIS. So
even back in 2008, when I went to do some charity work in Gaza, I met a journalist who is still doing his journalistic work, but he's got no legs. He's permanently in a wheelchair. And when I met him, he's still doing journalistic work. And this is a man who lost his legs because the Israeli government has blown half his body.
Let's just look back a year back. Dr. Abbas Khan, who got brutally murdered.
An aid worker, a doctor.
He got brutally murdered by the
British
regime.
Citizen.
British citizen got murdered by the regime. But yet, nothing was said, nothing really was done.
Because Assad is the mate, he's the buddy to the American and the British government. And that's the reason why nothing happened. And if anything, they said, we warned you guys not to go out there. That's what they've been saying. That was the attitude of
where's the warning with these...
we need to send in our troops. We need to bomb the life out of Iraq again and whatever's left of it.
This is the British way of kind of washing their hands of anybody who goes into an area. It's a bit tricky. They did the same thing. Remember when we went to Gaza? The same thing that was mentioned that, you're going to a war-torn area, we can't provide consular support, we can't do this. It's just almost like, that you're going somewhere where basically you can't help you. So if you go there on your own, good luck to you. Yeah. And that's exactly what's happened. That's the funny thing. With Alan Henning, same kind of things happen. Yeah. Since he's been kidnapped, a British Commonwealth or a British Foreign Office, they've not really done much. It's only since he's been popped up in the media. Oh, now it's a big issue. Okay, let's get acting toward Or
even in Palestine, I remember. I forgot her name now. She was
Corey.
Rachel Corey.
Rachel Corey. She was it
bulldozed?
Yeah,
she's an American non-Muslim white woman.
Where was the outcry? Where was the F-16 bombers and all of that?
Anti-Semitic to criticize them. Come on,
In fact,
we're not going to have that on our
there was
radio,
criticism
please. You're
against
criticizing
her
that's
for going
anti-Semitic,
there,
I'm sorry.
for doing silly things, putting her life
You
in
as well.
danger.
No anti-Semitism on this radio station, please.
We will be discussing
Rachel
what
Corrie was warned.
what is anti-Semitism. But,
just before
The bulldozer driver was defending himself.
again, you want to just briefly, because
Why
we're
are you
talking on that
laughing?
point
This is
there.
a very serious matter.
There was
They were
a-
fighting
again,
terrorists.
there was
a
another-
white
there's-
woman from America.
There was an article that I read today about there was a Palestinian who was attacked by
she was an
Israeli police.
undercover Hamas operative.
1 second.
Sorry, go on, carry on
Sorry,
with your
Mark
story.
Riggev's kicking in there, but you need to ease off on that. But again, but there was a article again I read today about a Palestinian who was who was caught on camera. He was being beaten and abused by Israeli police, and then the court said. The end of the whole thing, the Israeli courts, this is their justice. They said because that individual, that Palestinian, was protesting the actions of the officer, he's not accountable for his actions because he'll have to use whatever force is necessary to kind of restrain him. It's just ridiculous. It's just like anything that,
Just one thing, because we were speaking about it, I think it's important to mention a couple of things. One was that we mentioned about this, the Islamic movement, the Muslim Brotherhood being banned from certain countries. I mean, tomorrow is a verdict that's going to come out for Maulana Dilawar Hussain Saidi in terms of Bangladesh. Yeah, I mean, as we know, as most people do know, if you don't know, that the Islamic movement or the Muslim Brotherhood in Bangladesh, the Jamaat al-Islam, most, if not all, of their top leadership have been taken into prison, and these phony, trumped-up charges been put on them, and some of them were sentenced to death. Others,
one of them has already been executed.
Yeah. So, I mean, if this happens, I mean, the verdict's that tomorrow, there's going to be mayhem again in Bangladesh.
So what we'll do is we'll bring that up again when we go to a Nasheed break and try to intertwine that with the Muslim Brotherhood issue shortly, straight after the break. Is that okay, Mr. Producer? We're going to a short ad break. Oh, hold on, Brother Zain's got final word.
I'm just going to make sure the listeners got the phone number again.
Yes.
The mobile number 07477 080248 07477 080248. Do text us with your opinions or WhatsApp us or even call us. We'll be keen to listen to your opinions.
MP Radio from the Google.
You're
Play
listening
Store.
to The Security Council, a zero bull, straight talking, current affairs program.
Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to Middle Path Radio, and this is the Security Council with Brother Ahmed, Brother Zain, and Brother Khabbab. And we talked about several hot issues. We started off with a slightly lighter mood. We moved off from that topic. We're back on the news and the current affairs topics. And we've got a couple of stories still to cover. Before I go into those stories, I'd like to give out the number again. It's 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. And if you're not feeling shy, we want to hear a human voice on the end of the line. And have a conversation. Give us your thoughts, any questions, maybe a different perspective or an angle on the different issues that we've been talking about, whether it be ISIS or whether it be the wider context, the US strikes and the US military campaign again in Iraq. Whatever those issues are, then give us a call. Or if you've still got some comments you want to add about the iPhone, then feel free to give us a shout. If you're shy, give us a call, text message or WhatsApp on 07477 080 248. Okay, so we talked about the ISIS thing, and it's important to lay down the wider picture. And I've just got two little paragraphs to read from two different articles. One's from a MiddleEastEye.net news website, and it's titled. It says over 4,000 Syrians died under torture over 5,000 Syrians died under torture by Assad forces. This is the findings of a report that's come out from that region. A report compiled by Syrian Network for Human Rights said exactly 5,281 people have been tortured to death by forces loyal to President Bashar al-Assad. in Syria since the start of an uprising against his autocratic rule. And there are some gruesome, unsettling images of the abuse. Just shocking stuff. It would really shake you to the core. Some of these images are the same kind of images you see of the experience that the Jews went through during the Holocaust and the Second World War. These are humans with only the skin left on their body. Their bones are showing straight through the skin. There's cigarette burns, drill marks, cuts, and all sorts of nasty things. It's just really, really sad to see this.
We did talk about, just mentioned before, about Dr. Abbas Khan.
Yes.
Again, same thing.
He was in the same
condition, completely, tortured and left in that kind of state.
Is this a text message that's come through? Brother Khabbab, you want to read that for us?
It says here, Tom Herndl was a British student who went to Gaza to show support for the people of Gaza. Tom was shot dead by an IDF sniper from a watchtower while he helped a child in Rafah who was too frightened to move and was paralyzed with fear following sniper fire from the towers. He was only 21. The saddest thing was that the IDF soldier was only done for manslaughter and not murder.
Well, there you go. There's another example of how we talked just now about 5,000 Syrians tortured to death, right, under our noses. And here comes a text message from one of our listeners. Thank you to you for letting us know about this. Where is he from? Tom Herndl? Is he from the UK or?
Yeah, was a British student.
He's a British student. So he's gone out there and he's been shot. Well, gone out to Gaza, which is Palestine.
Just in relation to,
it helps to put everything into perspective and in the right proportion.
Just to kind of talk about Syria. I was actually talking about this with some other brothers today in relation to Britain and its kind of policy in relation to Syria, and it's very much clear where the British government before, although we know the kind of politics, backdoor politics, but it was on a public scale they were in support of the rebels and overthrowing Assad and all those kind of things. And now it is very clearly flipped the other way around, where now there's a very big agenda against criminalizing Syria, criminalizing support for Syria and everything in that way. So you're having attacks taking place on charities who are supporting work for Syria. You're having continual media bombardment to change the narrative and win the hearts and minds, as I say, of the people, where they just make it clear when you hear Syria, the first thing you think is ISIS. As simple as that. And so by this overtaking all of the headlines, we're kind of missing out on the real actual terrorism, the real kind of onslaught that's taking place. Still daily people are being killed in Syria. As I said, the last UN official figures were 191,000. And that's not really counting. There's something more unofficial.
Story. This is the
real, and then you're talking about the 5,000
tragedy.
They're talking about the 5,000. These are just figures that they have collated. We know there's
vast loads of unrecorded.
Exactly, there's more unrecorded
of
torture. So this is the real story taking place. The humanitarian crisis is taking place there. The onslaught, the war, the murder,
cause
savagery
and effect to everything. This is the cause. The Assad regime. It's murdering the civilians. It's savagery against the Sunnis.
And now the point is in the media, and in the political channels, there's no more talk about let's stop the killing in Syria. Now it's just about we've got to stop ISIS, got to dismantle ISIS. ISIS is the biggest threat to the UK. ISIS is the biggest threat to the West. ISIS is more better than Al Qaeda because they're more savvy and more this and that.
About the Western objectives. They had only Assad in their mind and taking over their country, which was initially invaded by the Americans in 2003. That was their reason why they were founded. That was the reason why they existed.
But understand,
there's the big story about this. These are the kind of oppression, military, injustice against civilian populations, invasions, foreign invasions, or a regime like the Assad regime in Syria, killing peaceful protesters. These kinds of things create the backlash, and revolutions start in that way. And that's exactly how the Syrian revolution
exactly. And this is the key point here, which is that the whole story regarding Syria, the whole narrative regarding Syria is basically being changed now. and everything in relating to it or in support of it is being
these
demonized
crimes
and attacked.
haven't
And this is
ended.
just a political agenda.
These
All of
deaths
this is
haven't
politics.
stopped happening. No, there's not peace in Syria. There is no stable government. There's still war taking place out there. And there's an Al Jazeera piece just here that's reminding us. This was only on the 13th of September. They said that the Badr Brigade, an Iran-backed militia, is said to have broken the pact to fight IS alongside Sunni and Peshmerga groups. Rather, they are now committing lots of revenge attacks of their own against any Sunni group or any Sunni population. And this is not nothing new. These Shia death squads have been kind of running Iraq since their government was put in place by the American administration after their invasion of Iraq. And I believe it was Channel 4 that has gone over there and done a excellent documentary. It's actually called Death Squads of Iraq. And the video, this documentary is uploaded on YouTube. It is from back in the early 2000s. And that whole video tells you about hundreds of bodies being uncovered regularly in mass graves. And these are all Sunni, civilians being killed, just thrown out the back of trucks by the side of the road by Shia extremists and Shia militia men, those affiliated to the actual government of Iraq at the time, and they're still in power today. And the same kind of nonsense is happening, and that's why the Sunnis in Iraq, Sunnis in Shia in Syria are suffering in the same way, and that's the reason why there is this revolution taking place in both Iraq and in Syria. So those are the kind of stories that we wanted to cover today, and that's probably most of our Syria and Iraq done for the time being. Is there any other kind of things you guys want to add, Brother Zain? Is there anything that I missed there at all on those topics? You were saying something while we were on the break. Do you want to maybe add a comment or two on that, or shall we move on?
Just mentioning something I was listening to another radio station last couple of days. I mean, the mentioning of where are these how come we've got all these people coming up and are against these Islamists coming up and against the ideology, against America and against Britain and against the West, so-called West and so forth.
Yeah.
And one of the listeners called in and he was mentioning the fact that if you hit people, or if you hit somebody and corner them and then keep on poking at them and hitting them, they will react. If you take out their family, naturally, he will, just like, most of us got children and so forth. If someone comes and harms our children, our first instinct is to protect our children by any means necessary.
That's right.
It's a natural instinct. And hence, you get in these reactions.
And a universal basic human right.
Absolutely. So, to blame or to have this kind of thing that these are all Islamists and they're doing all of this because they got this they're bent on an idea to annihilate everybody.
You don't have to be an Islamist to defend yourself and to defend your family and to defend your land, and that's exactly the reality in Syria, where there are a number of groups who don't even identify themselves as an Islamist organization, even though they're all Muslims. They're quite secular, maybe.
But they're getting branded at the moment because
they are fighting the Assad, tyranny and the murder and the butchering of Assad regime. They are definitely armed groups, and they're definitely doing the exact same.
Even the coalition, what's it called, the Islamic Front or something? Is it the coalition? Yeah.
Right,
I mean, it's got a mixture of, say, FSA and other affiliates, Islamic affiliates, rebel groups, if you want to call it. Yeah. And now they're getting branded as being sympathizers of Al Qaeda.
They're all part of this revolution. They're all part of this revolution because of the fact that you just said that the regime is doing what it's doing. It's created this revolution in the first place. And the same happened, as Brother Khabbab mentioned earlier, that it isn't just ISIS in Iraq. It's actually a vast number of different groups out there in Iraq. Many of them, ISIS are opposed to them, and those groups are opposed to ISIS.
I think there were articles as well about how Saddam Hussein's Ba'athist party again, they also took up arms alongside ISIS.
The question I'm trying to ask is exactly what's motivating these guys to fight?
Secularists.
Not ISIS. Why is motivating these guys to be part of a revolution against the American government? American military, sorry.
Yeah, sure. Someone texted on this.
Guys?
Someone texted in regards to what we were just speaking about, and he says, it's all in the media coverage. People are scared of Muslims and the Middle East because of the media sensations. Wouldn't we feel the same fear towards the West if we saw the same coverage of Guantanamo? These are some of the motivational, if you want to call it, motivational factors behind these things, isn't it? It's sensationalizing and isolating Muslims, maybe from the West more than anything else. But similarly, going into the Middle East and so forth, people are seeing injustices like the Guantanamo Bay, like Bagram you mentioned, and others you're mentioning in Syria and so forth, and no one's doing anything about it, and yet we see a couple of beheadings, if you want to call it, or it was gruesome, what it was, but nevertheless, because of a couple of beheadings, now you see a country going back into Iraq and bombing those cities and villages again.
That's definitely exactly.
Just a little fact there as well, which is that Obama has become the 4th consecutive American president to bomb Iraq.
That's a very interesting.
I think a follow up to that
with George Bush Sr.
Yeah, a follow up from that text.
That's
yeah,
not, he's not the first.
I think George Bush Sr. was the first. Then you had Clinton, and then you had what do you call it? Then you had Bush. the dumb Bush.
That was a mistake. The young Bush.
So, and followed by Barack Hussein Obama.
Yes, what a shame! What a shame! And there were the African Americans thinking they finally got a black president who might do things differently. What a shame!
Whiter than white.
What a shame! That's what I gotta say. Really, you seriously believe that? Come on, guys, wake up and smell the coffee. Yeah. Okay, #Ferguson. So we need to move on, and we did quickly mention the Muslim Brotherhood, and there's nothing really to add there. I'm just going to say, refer to the Telegraph article here, written by a guy called Damien McElroy, if that's the correct pronunciation for his name. He says, Britain is set to impose curbs on Muslim Brotherhood-linked organisations and block activists moving to London after a report by a senior diplomat raised concerns over the group's links to extremists in the Middle East. Wow, that looks like the golden word to use. If you really want Muslims to suffer, you want them to be punished, just say the word extremist or terrorist, drop that one, and that's it. The end of the discussion. There's no more conversation. You're guilty as charged.
It's like that text that came in, sensational. Oh my God,
sensationalist. Journalism,
that's right.
But to be fair, it isn't just the journalists. This is the government here. This is exactly the government, and Britain's set to impose curbs on the Muslim Brotherhood. This is the UK government saying, and any linked organisations, and to block the activists from moving to London when these guys are suffering from torture and imprisonment, death sentence in their home countries for doing what? For participating in politics and getting voted by the majority of the people in their country who wanted them to be their democratically elected government. So this is what you call real political asylum, isn't that right?
Exactly.
Where they come in here for refuge.
Yeah, let's look at this. Who actually declared them as Islamists or some kind of terrorist organization as such, or a threat to the West? It was Egyptian government who came in with a coup, who actually took out
basically it's actually Tony Blair. It all goes back to Tony Blair. That's a conspiracy theory. Well, it's not conspiracy.
It's just a name. You switch him over with somebody else, it's all going to be the same. It's just like Barack Obama is just, you can't isolate it to just Bush. It was Bush, it was his father, it was Clinton, it was, as you said, it was Obama. And of course, yes, there are some guys who did this much worse. Tony Blair was somebody who got this ball rolling.
It's the theme behind the American Empire. This is the American Empire, isn't it?
Yeah, you switch the figurehead, it's still got the same,
the empire
operation
still
running. Yeah, the operation is still the same. Empire still stands, just got a different face. That's all that's happening. So David Cameron asked Sir John Jenkins, the ambassador to Saudi Arabia, to compile a full report on the Muslim Brotherhood. After what? After Gulf allies put pressure on the UK government to curtail the Muslim Brotherhood's London-based operations. So can you imagine another country, let's say a Muslim country, bans the Conservative Party members of parliament or their activists in, say, I don't know, wherever, Muslim Qatar or Indonesia or Turkey. Imagine doing that, saying, we're going to ban you guys as an organization. Have I committed a crime? Am I, part of an illegal organization? What are you trying to say? That doing politics in my country is wrong? It's illegal? So this is what I want to focus on, this one point, really, and I'm moving from that story, to be honest with you. I want to focus on this one point, something that the one of our text listeners had already mentioned. But I wanted to say that the message that they are trying to send out the world, that we want to export democracy. Look at our way of life. You guys are in the third world. You guys are backward. You don't have democracy and freedom. We love democracy. The answer is politics. The answer is voting. They keep telling us this, and they keep educating and lecturing the rest of the world.
It's integration.
Yet they don't give a damn. Actually, no, they don't give a damn about any of these things. Why do we even believe any of that rubbish in the first place? If they gave a damn about any of these things, then the Muslim Brotherhood would still be in power, because they were voted in by a majority in a democratic election. Okay, the model as set by the Western world. Okay, if they actually even really cared about any of these principles, any of these so-called values, these British values, these democratic values, then they would never be sitting silent while Bashar al-Assad is doing what he is doing in a very non-democratic, unelected fashion. So there's this quick thing, that there's some scathing words by Ken MacDonald on what's happening. He's also actually written in the Telegraph, and he said that this country appears to have a major problem in identifying good role models for some young Muslim men, or so the government believes. Okay, and he goes on and he reads, different passages there, and it's very short here. For example, during the very same week that saw Al Jazeera reporters jailed, for 7 years in Egypt, the Prime Minister of Australia congratulated the new regime, i.e. the military government, the illegal one that came in with a coup. It congratulated the new regime in Cairo on its crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood. By this, Tony Abbott presumably meant the kidnappings, disappearances and systematic torture of democratic politicians that have scarred that country in recent months. His comments also, one supposes, represent a metaphorical pat on the back for the mass death sentences passed after farcical 1-hour trials, and a round of applause for the bloody overthrow of the first elected government in Egyptian history. You don't have to take my word for it. These are the writings of non-Muslim white men who probably don't really care much for Islam and Muslims, but they have their own personal values. They have their own kind of sense of principle, and this is why they are writing in these mainstream papers, such as the Telegraph. And this is what they've got to say. They, this whole nonsense about democracy and, having the right to vote and freedom for people to vote in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, it's a load of rubbish. It was a lie.
Forget the freedom to vote in the Arab or Muslim world. They were talking about, obviously, Muslims in the West and integrating and, being part of the society and democratic society. And then you have all of these things about, when Muslims do vote, next thing hang on a minute, they're getting these Islamist guys into power, they're getting these, like we've heard so much about.
It's such a shocking thing for them. Muslims love Islam.
Hang on a minute, you're the ones who have been telling us to vote. You go out and vote, and then next thing you know, hang on a minute, we can't be having these guys vote.
These guys are getting hanged,
like just like when the mayor, or was it of Tower Hamlets, when he got in, and a lot of Muslims came out to vote for him. They said, "Oh, look, it's only because he's from that ethnic background."
He's only representing that demographic.
Some commentators were calling, his supporters and people that congratulated him and cheered him on. They were calling them mobs. They were calling them mobs, and it was like, just intrinsically racist.
Clear and blatant racism.
They got the two faces on, isn't it?
That's right. So, we got a few agendas to quickly get through. One of them is antisemitism. What exactly is anti-Semitism? Do you guys know what anti-Semitism is?
It's when somebody is anti-Semite.
Yes.
So what is a Semite?
Saying the same thing. What exactly?
Great definition.
A Semite is actually also refers to Arabs as well. Arabs are also Semites.
But in their definition, or the accepted.
Well, in the actual dictionary definition, is
usage of that.
Basically, in a nutshell, means anything relating to Jews. Full stop.
Well, basically, if you look at what the legal definition would probably say is, some sort of hate speech, hate crime done against a person of Jewish origin on the basis of the fact of them just being Jew or Jewish, basically.
Actually, the good old Wikipedia has come up here and is saying anti-Semitism is prejudice against hatred of or discrimination against Jews as a national, ethnic, religious or racial group. You see, this is absolutely incorrect, and that's why Wikipedia is not a really good source of factual news. Please. Because if you look at what is who are classed as Semites, they are also actually Arabs. So those from the Middle East are referred to as Semites. So that is Jews by ethnicity as well as Arabs. So again,
Jews by ethnicity. I mean, as far as I went to RE classes, and Judaism actually religion.
Obviously, if you refer to as Allah mentioned in the Quran about Bani Israel, they're referred to as from Bani Israel. They were what
Arabia.
Of course they're from Arabia, but again, they were what those who worshipped Allah, those who didn't.
Jew, can they be two ethnicities at the same time? Come on.
No.
With all due respect, if you self-identify yourself as a Jew, I understand Judaism to be
just like somebody can be, as in born from a Jewish family. So therefore, they class them ethnically as being Jew.
So
but they could be
non-Arab, an Englishman, for example, or an American, Anglo-American, for example, can be a Jew, right?
Jew by faith.
By faith.
Yes.
So how can you be an ethnic Jew? There's a lot of people claiming anti-Semitism, yet they're not of any original Jewish ethnicity at all. So, why are we talking about this story? Well, because Michael Gove, former education secretary, I believe, he says, too many people are conflating legitimate criticism of Israel's general policies with straightforward anti-Semitism. Okay? And basically, he says that protesters who are boycotting Israeli goods over Gaza, they need to be reminded that the Nazi campaign against Jewish goods ended with a campaign against Jewish lives. He's trying to say that basically, if you boycott Israeli goods, okay, then you are doing the same thing that the Nazis did to the Jews in the Second World War. Basically.
Ridiculous.
And he's even gone so far as to say that it starts off by boycotting Jewish goods, and then you end up with boycotting Jewish lives. Equating, the boycott of this illegal produce, may I add, stolen property, stolen goods on Palestinian land sold at huge profits, okay? They're profiting from the property of other people that they are doing business on their land by having taken those plots of land by force. And that's the reason why a lot of people are boycotting those goods, and they are boycotting them on those grounds. These are illegal goods. They are produce,
illegal settlements.
Procured from occupied illegal settlements. It's basically like somebody going to another man's country, like Nazi Germany did. By the way, went to some parts of Europe and said, "This is our country. We're going to take it over."
This thing here, what you mentioned about what Gov is mentioning, this is a narrative that is being pushed so much to the extent. I mean, I just typed in on Google anti-Semitic definition. The first definition that came up, it mentions what you mentioned about hostility towards Jews and so forth, and then it goes on to saying opposition to Zionism.
Oh,
yeah, and then it goes on to sympathy for opponents of Israel.
Oh, so look. And I've got the dictionary up here, which has defined what is a Semite. And that's what it is. Anti-Semitism is obviously those who are against Semites. And it says here, Semite is, and they've got 2 points here, 1 and 2. It says, a member of any of the various ancient and modern peoples originating in the southwestern Asia, including Akkadians, I don't know what that is. And it mentions a few different ones, and he goes Hebrews and Arabs. That goes to my point, which is Arabs are also Semites. And then number two is a Jew.
A Jew.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
So the point being is the word has obviously has taken form and shaped. But now, as I said, before it was clearly against obviously those hate speech against those ethnic Jews, whether they be religious or not religious.
Check this out.
Now it's obviously gone to the point of Zionism, Israeli government.
Criticizing Zionism is now also anti-Semitism, is it?
Yeah, that's what he says.
According to you, the definition that you've got in front of you.
Yeah, opposition to Zionism. That's what he says. And number 3 says
and it's sympathy
for opponents of Israel.
It doesn't even have to be a terrorist group. You just have to sympathize with opponents. Anyone who opposes Israel. If you sympathize with them, you are an anti-Semite.
The funny thing is, it doesn't mention Israel as a state, Israel as a government, Israel. It doesn't mention it. It just says Israel.
Yeah, and the opponent could be anybody. I mean, I know a lot of people that oppose Israel. George Galloway opposes them. Noam Chomsky
but he's been branded by.
They all oppose.
But they've been all branded as.
If you have any sympathy for them, then you're an anti-Semite.
Yeah, they've been. Funny enough, most of the ones that you mentioned, they've been branded as.
By the way, on the story of George Galloway, a gentleman by the name of Masters or something like that, something his name is. He's the guy who actually assaulted George Galloway for his support for Palestine. And he's admitted to having carried out that assault.
I'd like to see how where that goes to in terms.
Well, nothing much is going to happen of it because you might be anti-Semitic to charge that person for the assault. I'm not sure. So Gove has gone on. Actually, he's warned that this is a resurgent, mutating, lethal virus of anti-Semitism. The Conservative chief whip also claimed those who compare Israel's actions to Nazi war crimes are engaging in a form of Holocaust denial. So if you say that Israelis are doing the same thing that Nazis did to Jews, then I don't know how this is even related, but somehow you've denied the Holocaust. I don't know if you guys can make sense of that. So if Israelis are accused of being like Nazis, i.e. killing innocent civilians, hating an ethnic group, i.e. the Arabs and the Muslims, like the Nazis did against the Jews, somehow you've just denied the Holocaust. That's a wicked connection. I don't know how he's...
I'm saying that this is a narrative that's being pushed because people are realizing...
Because people used to be afraid of being called anti-Semite. People used to be afraid of being branded or being done for anti-Semitism. And that was one of the best ways and quickest ways to silence any kind of dissenting voice or any kind of criticism. That's right. So, I mean, I haven't got more to cover on. I think it's very, very clear. But I would want to read one paragraph from this gentleman. What's he's called Gerald Kaufman, MP. Okay, I didn't know he was actually an MP. So Gerald Kaufman is an MP from Labour Manchester. Okay, and he's written in as a letter, I think, to the Guardian to respond to what Michael Gove has been saying to the papers. He says here, this is Gerald Kaufman, his words: "I do not need Michael Gove to explain to me what anti-Semitism is. Okay, I have been the object." Of anti-Semitism by 2 Conservative MPs, Sir Charles Taylor, who told me to get back to Tel Aviv, and Sir Alec Douglas Home, who admonished me that my loyalty should be to this country and not to Israel, bringing the proceedings of the House of Commons to a roaring halt. Harold Macmillan referred to me anti-Semitically in his diaries as well. Of course, the Holocaust, the Nazi slaughter of 6 million Jews, including many members of my family, says Gerald Kaufman, this was an atrocity unparalleled in human history. That does not provide justification for the Israelis murdering thousands of civilians. Since governments take no action against these massacres, it is right that communities and individuals should boycott Israeli products. What a sensible letter by an Israeli gentleman. And it goes on, of course, and there are some opinions of many others on this. And I'm not really going to read all of them. Some excellent stuff. And not one of them is a Muslim. Reverend David Haslam, Professor David E. Pegg from different parts of the country. Okay? And some of them are Jewish, just like the one who's we read from, spokesperson from the Embassy of Israel and MP for the Labour Party as well. So we need to quickly round up on this topic for sure. The time now is almost 11:30. So that's the anti-Semitism covered. If you guys have any views, any text messages, any kind of comments, then drop us an SMS, okay, on 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. Okay, guys, I know you love your football and you want to talk about Diego Garcia. We've got a couple of things to mention there, and I'm going to be very brief about them. Should I just quickly give you 7 things that you should know about Diego Garcia and renditions? That might be the best way to get everyone up to speed about Diego Garcia. And no, he didn't do a handball in a World Cup match against the England football team. This is Diego Garcia, a site of US military base in the Indian Ocean, leased from Britain in 1966. So first, the British government denied that any renditions ever took place through Diego Garcia, a British territory in the Indian Ocean. So I think I was correct when I initially referred to that. So then in 2008, it finally admitted the truth, the government did. Now, years later, documents relating to a key period have reportedly been, let's say, accidentally destroyed when they were soaked in the water. Like, my dog ate the homework, sir. So here are 7 critical points about this affair. Number 1, 2 rendition flights landed on Diego Garcia. What's a rendition? Anybody quickly remind us who's listening? This is a euphemistic word for
illegally kidnapping someone from their own country or wherever they're from to another place.
Either by kidnapping or by asking the government of that country to say, can you arrest this guy for us and send him over to one of our little
still illegal, kidnapping,
unheard of invisible prisons. Now, that's why you haven't heard of Diego Garcia. But that's exactly what it is. And so we can torture them. So in Diego Garcia, where there's no American law, probably no British rule, there's some kind of like a grey area. So since no law exists or applies there, we can kind of torture them.
Do as you wish.
That's right. So 2 rendition flights landed in Diego Garcia in 2002. Okay? And then number 2, it's not only the records for 2002 that we need to see. For years, the UK government has denied all knowledge of this, apparently. So for a long time, ministers claimed that anyone who thought the UK was involved in renditions was a conspiracy theorist. Here's Foreign Secretary Jack Straw in 2005, open quote, "Unless we all start to believe in conspiracy theories and that the officials are all lying, that I am lying, that behind this there is some kind of secret state which is in league with some dark forces in the United States, and also let me say, we believe that Secretary Rice is lying. There simply is no truth in these claims that the United Kingdom has been involved in rendition. Full stop." 3 years later, the then Foreign Secretary David Miliband was forced to confess that this was spectacularly untrue, admitting to Parliament that 2 CIA rendition flights carrying detainees had in fact made use of the British territory of Diego Garcia. Okay? In 2002. So this kind of lying and then denying and accusing people of conspiracy theories and stuff like that, it all just falls flat on its face by their own colleagues in government or in opposition in this regard. And, I'm just quickly going to move on. You can hear for yourself what's exactly happening in Diego Garcia. Why is it important? Because the UK are aware, and it's with the UK's permission, with the UK's blessing, that these kinds of renditions are taking place. The Americans are doing whatever they want. The UK said, yes, of course you can. You guys are the Americans. We love you guys. You can go ahead and torture people all you like. No problem. We hate them too. That kind of thing. So rendition enabled horrific torture beyond the rule of law. So before we become swamped in the euphemisms of the war on terror, it is worth remembering what the Bush-era rendition really meant. The CIA, with significant support from Britain and other allies, would kidnap people and fly them to countries where they could be detainees spent months or years in secret prisons beyond the rule of law, in the dungeons of Gaddafi, Mubarak or Assad. They were beaten and hung from the walls, and in some cases had their genitals cut with a scalpel. What a hideous experience. I'm just lost for words. But notice these stories, again, Assad is mentioned there, they're not the headlines today. Today, ISIS is more popular to talk about. Number 5, among the victims were children and pregnant women. Do I need to say more? Pregnant women and children being renditioned, taken away to these invisible prisons between America and UK. Nobody's ever heard of these places. The victims of the rendition program were not just men. They included women and children. The Al-Saadi family was rendered en masse to Libya in 2004. Sami, a prominent anti-Gaddafi dissident, his wife Karima and their 4 children, the eldest 12 and the youngest just 6. Fatima, the wife of another Gaddafi opponent, was 5 months when she was kidnapped with her husband and flown to Gaddafi's prisons in the same year. Gaddafi, good riddance, buddy. So, number 6, Britain played a key role. I think we've already made that point. We now know that a high-ranking MI6 official wrote to Gaddafi's spy chief, and their references there directly to some source for that, to congratulate him on the arrival of the air cargo, i.e. referring to Budshar Fatima, that is, and her husband Abdul Hakim Bilhad. Tony Blair Gaddafi, welcoming him back to civilized society, and so on and so forth. And we continue to hear that there's been these kind of documents that actually have got the details of this, Garcia. These documents have actually been damaged, quite conveniently, by some heavy rainwater. So anyway, number 7, political oversight of the British involvement has, spectacularly failed. I'm not going to read more of that, but you can tell the same old political game is happening out there, guys. This is really, really... it's just a shame that our government, the UK government, we think it's just the Americans. We think it's just the Americans, but it isn't really. It's our government's involved. The UK government is complicit. The UK government has pretended to deny that they have nothing to do with torture, that they're completely against torture, they're completely against renditions and stuff like this. But here you are, they're completely in cahoots with the Americans and facilitating and assisting a lot of these renditions and torture adventures of the Americans.
So don't get disheartened with your conspiracy theories, because most likely they are all probably the actual truth.
They might not all be true, but there's probably
a lot
of
how
them
crazy
that may
they
well
are,
be
but,
true. Yeah, they could be.
But generally, so even when Jack Straw was saying, "Oh no, if you've got to believe we're lying to you, the government lies to you," how can that be possible?
Some sort of a conspiracy
that I like you. I'm lying to you.
You probably believe in aliens as well and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just, and what I found so farcical about it is that his whole statement was actually true. And it's one of those things where, like, the truth of it, the truth, the truth, and that there are dark, sinister forces working alongside America.
Exactly.
All of these things are actually truth.
Who tells us this? David Miliband.
It's like one of those things when you're joking to somebody. Yeah, of course. You kind of laugh
Isn't
it
Jack
off.
Straw and David Miliband part of the same political party?
I believe they are. They're from the Labour Party.
I was under the impression. Sorry, I was mistaken then. So they're from the same political party.
Yes.
And David Miliband is currently the leader.
No. Ed Miliband is the leader. David
Excuse me, that's his brother.
David is the other former foreign secretary.
Yes, indeed. But they are from the same political party as Jack Straw. So, we're almost coming to the end of our program. And Mr. Producer's asking us about who is going to make Django of the week.
Sorry, did I miss something?
You missed something. You missed something big.
It started from last week.
All right, what's this?
Because you are this week's Django of the week. I'm telling you, because you missed it.
Basically, now we're looking at
the whole of Django's. Basically,
the whole concept of. Every week we'll have like a Hall of Shame, you could almost say, called
like
Django
the
of the Week.
US Army's, pack of cards. They had the Chemical Ali and Saddam Hussein and all that. We've got Django of the Week.
And I think last week Django of the Week was it Tony?
Tony Blair was.
It was Mr. GQ's Philanthropist of the Year. Tony Blair was number 1 Django of the Week. And so every week we said that the one who deserves that Hall of Shame title would be selected, and we were actually urging or requesting our listeners to kind of text in and vote. I don't think we did it this week, and we should have probably produced a list of Django of the Week and then have a little voting system
here, but all from the same issue though, so they might be all combined.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yes, you can, Mr. Producer.
This is
the iPhone could be Django of the Week.
I was just going to say, obviously we're going to have Bush and the Blairs every week.
But Zayn is not very happy
always
to hear that.
Django's coming in the future, and I think we should. Because of in celebration of the iPhone 6 and the Plus, I think Apple should be Django of the Week.
Tim Cook, the guy who is the CEO.
Forget Tim. We don't know who Tim is. We just know
Nobody
Apple.
knows him.
We just know Apple.
Okay. The late Steve Jobs.
What was your list of people?
All right, I've got a list of people. We haven't ever come to them because it refers to those guys. It refers to the question: is there a problem of pedophilia in the white society, in white community, basically? Because there are some high-profile guys.
Is rape a white
And I want to mention their names. We've got Max Clifford. Max Clifford is like a publicist. He's very well known.
A disgusting pervert, a monster, as was described.
Nasty character, and I think 20 victims have come forward accusing him of indecent assault.
I wonder who's going to be Max Clifford's publicist.
He was found guilty of 8 counts of indecent assault. He's quite a famous guy. He's
publicist.
He's a publicist. He's the guy who celebrities go to publicize their name and do their branding for them. So Max Clifford, he's been involved in this kind of thing. I'm really, really shocked to hear about that. There's another guy. Okay, this is the article that you shared with me, by the way, Brother Khabbab. But let's go with the big names first. There's another gentleman. Astaghfirullah, I don't want to call him that after.
I don't think he's very gentle.
No, not at all. I'm sorry to...
is this Cyril Smith?
Honored him in that way. Yes, Cyril Smith.
The late
Cyril Smith. He's passed already. But in his example, 20 Cyril Smith assault victims have actually alleged that he
young boys, if I'm correct.
Yes, one of the victims has told the police that he was raped by the 29-stone Liberal Democrat MP who allegedly abused. Yes, we have that story. I'm going to come to that next as well. So this is Cyril Smith. All right, and these were a lot of people. Many of them were vulnerable children in homes, children's homes, and in care and stuff like that. And this was in Rochdale actually between 1960 and 1987. So these are like kind of high profile. And this guy is actually a member of parliament. And it's not just a publicist. He was. So these are people that you trust to run your country, and people who you give them such a high position to look after your affairs for you. You don't. It's just a kind of betrayal of that trust. Really, it's just even worse when it's people from that
establishment.
From the establishment. Really, there's some really nasty stories that are out there, and I feel awkward to read one of them because it's just so graphic. It's in the Daily Mail.
Although we don't promote the Daily Mail, but
yeah, I mean they're the only ones who could really write this in such graphic terms. So I mean, I'm going to let you read that, Brother Zain, because you're the only one with the guts in this office, mashallah.
The beast.
Really. I mean, this story when I read it, I think it was yesterday. I read it. It was really disgusting. It talks about this actually Christian white man who cited from the Bible verses to justify his rape of a pregnant lady and forced her, to do many other disgusting acts. His name is Kevin Gibson, found guilty. Gibbons, raped a pregnant woman, and forced her to do other, disgusting.
After she gave birth as well.
Yeah, after disgusting things to her.
He's found guilty of 11 charges and sentenced to 25 years in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, the key thing here is that
he has no beard.
He's
not brown.
Passages.
He's not Muslim.
He was citing passages from the Bible to justify his actions. Yet there is not one mention of his faith, his Christianity, Christian extremism, or Christian grooming, or Christian
fundamentalism.
Nothing of the nature, where he's actually justifying his actions based on religion, based on the Bible.
And this is This is the Daily Mail.
Daily Fail.
Famous for that's a very good name for that paper, actually, the Daily Fail. This paper is very well known for using quite provocative, sometimes often bordering on racist kind of headlines, especially had this been on about Muslims, and I could probably do a Google search and bring up a Daily Mail article on the whole Rotherham affair and how many racist articles they've probably written about that. Okay, there's also another guy in the UK I wanted to bring up. He's not so well known, but this guy is a cancer doctor. All right, and he pleads guilty to sexually abusing patients as young as 11. Okay, and he's a Miles Bradbury, a pediatric hematologist, okay, at such and such hospital, pleaded guilty to a string of sex crimes against children. I think he's only 41 years old. He's pleaded guilty to 6 counts of assault and 13 counts of engaging in that kind of activity with a child. He also pleaded guilty to 3 counts. The 41-year-old, it just goes on. It just goes on. It's just horrible.
But there's one underpinning thing with all of these stories is that they're all white men.
That's right. That's right.
White.
So why so surprised for? Because we know the majority of pedophiles, more than 90% are white males.
Shock and horror. This is.
You're surprised because it's not in the newspaper.
That's right. They didn't say that it's a white.
I thought it was only Asian, Pakistani, Muslim men who were engaged in this.
You might be asking, why have I brought these stories up? But because they are in the news, right, and they're happening right now. These convictions are happening right now. But what's really being drummed up, in the talk shows and in the morning shows is Rotherham. Is Rotherham, and they're talking about it up till now because a police officer has just resigned because of whatever's happening in Rotherham. Why would the police officer?
No, we were afraid of racism. That's why we didn't come forward and talk about these Asian men who were.
Yeah, and we didn't take action against these Asian grooming gangs. It sounds so okay to say Asian grooming gangs, but even though I'm doing this story today on our show, I still find it uncomfortable to say this is a white crime. This is this is a problem in the white.
I don't really find it uncomfortable. I kind of clearly say it's a white Christian extremist terrorist crime.
Well, we don't think that's correct.
Yeah.
We don't think that's
you play the game. Simple as that. Well, that's the narrative of the day. That's the narrative I would say
in our shoes,
which is as simple as that. That these guys are white Christian,
but you're saying
religious,
obviously you're saying
fundamentalist, fanatical.
Yeah, obviously you're saying that because of the stories and the media coverage and so forth and how it came out. But I'm with you on that, Brother Ahmed. In terms of. I feel quite uncomfortable actually to say that white Christian because it's not
correct. It's not fair. Apart from the guy who was citing from the Bible, most of the other guys are just criminals doing filthy criminal acts.
Exactly.
White, black,
and no sane-minded Christian, and anybody who's not even. You don't have to be a Christian to know that Christianity doesn't approve of this. Even those guys in church.
What about all the priests?
Even the guys in church, they can't be. They're not saying they're doing it.
Just the same like the Muslims, same as Buddhists or Hindus, or whatever.
Same as those Asian guys, same as those Pakistani guys. They're not doing it because their religion motivates them. And even if they said their religion motivated them, we all know it's not true. No religion.
Okay, let's take religion out of this whole thing. And now let's go bring it down to another ethnicity, which is exactly the race. So is it a case of that is an issue of Asian or Pakistanis?
It's a cultural problem.
The other day, a brother was talking to me. I didn't get a chance to watch it. He said, I think it was Dispatches or Channel 4. Did they do Dispatches? Is it?
Yeah.
Yes. So he said there's a whole thing where they went to Pakistan. And I didn't get a chance to watch it. And I think we should actually watch it if I can find the link for it. But the guy went to Pakistan and he was looking at sexual abuse of young boys and this kind of rife in the Pakistani culture is inbred within them. And they were talking about how these lorry truck drivers, openly saying, how he's slept with so many boys and so many this and young children like that. These kind of stories.
He's going to the low.
Exactly. He's going to the places where you're going to find it. It's like you're going down into a red light district and talking to everybody there about prostitution. What else are you going to hear? You're going to hear all the people who go to a red light district. If you go down to just general mainstream, you're not going to be finding that. But the whole point of it is they were trying to pin the thing that there is a innate problem within the Pakistani culture, or within the Asian culture, of this sexual grooming, this kind of concept of that this meat is acceptable, and they talk about how they refer to it as white meat, and this kind of sayings. This is they're trying to say that this is a problem within there. But if we discuss that, it's purely so racist. Then I was going to say that is there a problem within white?
No, I totally agree with you. What you're trying to do,
there has to be, because you're talking about 90% of them are white men as well.
No,
so they're white men.
No, that's exactly the reason why we're running this story today. Is because if you were to use the same language, same approach as the mainstream media are when covering the story of Rotherham or Rochdale or wherever it is, and they're making it into a race and ethnic issue, if we are to play by those same rules, then absolutely, Brother Khabbab, you would be absolutely right to say there's a white problem. It's predominantly a white problem. In fact, it's 90-something% white. Problem in this country. So it's as though it's okay for white guys to rape white girls, but if Asian guys are raping white girls, then there's a problem. And it also ignores the fact that these same grooming gangs also attack Asian victims.
Absolutely.
And a huge number of them. And we know this kind of sickness exists across community lines, across the board. And really, it is not because they're religious. It is because they're irreligious, okay? And it is because they don't have any morality that they are doing these types of things. So that is the reason why, of course, Muslims, we tend to encourage religion and God piety and God fearingness, so that they can, fear
some
God
morality.
and, have some morality and have these kind of principles in their lives.
So just going back, rounding off, just going back to the Django of the week, or the Hall of Shame, is it?
The Hall of Django.
Hall of
Pack
Django,
of cards. Who's the
Gibson, the guy?
Kevin
sick,
Gibbons. No, this
sick
guy. Django of the week, giving that to him, just like
gives him too much honor.
It's
Yeah,
honoring him.
Yeah,
way
I
too
kind
much.
of, yeah.
That's just on this one, because Apple really flopped big time.
The Gibson guy needs to go on something like criminal of the week or something.
Only a swear word would be suitable for that kind of character, and we can't really air that even at this time of the night.
Animal of the week or something.
Yeah, some sort of do that, man.
Exactly.
Now, 2 policemen have been charged with a 3-year-old woman while they were on duty.
Wow.
It has emerged. The officers from Surrey Police were arrested on intelligence material. I mean, who do you call when the police are the criminals? When the police are there to do what? What's the American strap line? To serve and protect. Is that what it is? This is their
to serve and protect. I'll tell you something, just we're talking about peace, and it always reminds me about kind of police terrorism that they conduct on the streets against civilians.
Mm-hmm.
I just you got stopped and searched.
No, not yet. Maybe after the show. There was a video that somebody shared. It was just is a football match, I think it was, and a fan ran onto the pitch, and then he was. I think it was in South America. It looked like possibly. I'm not too sure it was. And he was getting tackled, and then he got a baton, and he was battering the supporter. Yeah. And then what happened was the other supporters just couldn't take that. They ran onto the pitch, and then they battered the police. And you only think
which we did
that
not
if you see police abuse taking place on the streets, if civilians reacted in that way, the police would have to think twice before they look to apply unnecessary force.
We do not advocate restraint for any act of violence against.
Of course not. I'm just theoretically thinking. How
But having said all of that, if there was
someone
came towards you with a knife, you call the police.
By all means, do what you need to do to save yourselves. Okay, and that's a bottom line. There's one more story. This is not in the UK. This is in Oklahoma. An Oklahoma state trooper charged with kidnapping and rape. Another police officer, doing the exact same thing. And what did this guy do? Trooper Eric Roberts, 42, was arrested at his home. And what he used to do is he'd stop women for so-called driving offences. He'll put them in his car after cuffing them, drive them off to somewhere. Here it is. What does it exactly say in the Guardian? Location. Yep, here we go. A second woman, so it's more than one woman's actually come to say the same story, drove her to a remote area and then assaulted her, according to an amended complaint filed in federal court.
An amended complaint?
Yeah, so the woman claims Roberts made her get into his patrol car and began asking her, sexually explicit questions. She claims Roberts then drove her to a secluded location and raped her. This is 2 unrelated women making the same claim. So this man has obviously been doing this thing more than once. And these are the police officers. This is the state of the law enforcement in the land of the free. So, folks, you should be afraid. You should ask for ID. You should ask for why you're getting stopped. You should ask. You should know your rights. You need to
be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yeah, I mean the police. Then they're there. They're supposed to be looking after you and your rights and protecting people. But there are a lot of rotten apples out there, and it's not just a one story you hear in a 10-year period. No, these kind of stories are coming, to the limelight on a very alarmingly, increasingly high rate these days, and so it really damages the trust that people have in the police force, or what little trust that was left, public trust that is left in the police forces. So those are all our topics for tonight. We are now 6 minutes away from midnight. We have had a very lively show, alhamdulillah. We've had loads of topics that we've got to cover. Have you got something to add there, Brother Zain?
No, I was just going to say I couldn't read out some of the text messages. They unfortunately came a bit later.
Oh, see. Okay, let's hear that. If you can squeeze them in now or something like that. Go on.
you have to wait then.
I don't mind. I mean, our texts are very important, and I'm sorry if we couldn't read them out to you guys on time. Try to tune in as soon as you can. We start our show at 10 p.m. and we finish roughly 12 o'clock. There's no real fixed time for when we've closed, but we generally...
In regards to Tom Herndl,
right?
His case, someone texted in...
this is the British student who got killed.
That's right. Someone came back and mentioned this happened in 2003, and just referencing it, where it's from. Someone else mentioned about the Guantanamo issue in terms of people are scared and so forth, and he mentioned if it was reversed Guantanamo was reversed, how people react in terms of that. So it's not just in Guantanamo, but the treatment of civilians by the armies from the USA or UK. It's the same thing. Imagine people were getting treated in that manner, and that was sensationalized, similar to ISIS, what's been happening there. And someone else mentioned, texting said that they don't really care about democracy. It's referring back to our
discussion about
MB and so forth,
banning and curbing.
Says they don't really care about democracy. If they did, why did they declare Hamas as a terrorist organization straight after they were democratically elected by the Palestinians? The election was overseen by Jimmy Carter, a former president. US president. Yeah, president of the US.
He actually said it's one of probably the most fairest, electoral process that ever he witnessed in the Middle East. And there's probably not many electoral processes that you can even witness in the Middle East. So, Jazakallah khair, shukran lakum to all our listeners, especially those who've, mashallah, come forward and contributed to tonight's show. We'd love to hear you guys in person, but you're not required to. Keep those texts coming, WhatsApp messages. Even if we don't get a time, as Brother Zain has done, alhamdulillah, he has still read them before the end of the show. We really, really appreciate them. Join us next week at the usual time, same place. This is the Security Council with Brother Ahmed, Brother Zain, and Brother Khabbab. And follow us on YouTube. If you do miss our shows, guys, we do other shows on this radio, by the way. There's an Islamic talk show, Madarij al-Salikin by Ustad Khidr Hussain from Azhar University. Okay, you can catch all these shows that you might have missed, like this one, for example, last week's. You want to catch up, go to check out our YouTube channel, Middle Path Radio on YouTube. All our shows are uploaded there for your pleasure, inshallah, to catch up on. That's the end of tonight's show, Mr. Producer. It's over and out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
You're listening to The Security Council, a zero bull, straight talking, current affairs program.